Let's talk mufflers. This is one area of a vehicle I see a lot of people just throwing lots of money at, which is fine. The exhaust system is a very important part of your build. But oftentimes the money is misplaced and there are a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings with a lot of the products in the market today. So I'm a 90s kid, and growing up, you weren't legit unless you had 40 series Flowmasters on your car. You know, the old Ray Fluger specials, the standard old 40 series, 3-inch case. Yeah, 3-inch case on those. And it's funny to see the choices people make. You know, a lot of it's subjective. It really depends on the sound you want. And, you know, usually performance is, you know, seat of the pants, but it's usually all in here. You know, a lot of times people have put this big rowdy exhaust system under their car and they think the car is a lot faster, and usually they've knocked the guts out of it and it really isn't any faster. In a lot of cases, some exhaust systems can actually hurt performance over conventional components. But, you know, we're talking Flowmasters. So you tell me how this is marketed as one of the best flowing mufflers on the market. This is a 50 series Delta Flow. So exhaust comes in, goes all through this chamber. This is where the chamber exits. And then you have this open chamber right here. I'm not sure how that's supposed to help, because it's supposed to flow through here, which it does. But see, it has this chamber right here that allows the flow to come in. I'm assuming this is for drone, which it doesn't work. These mufflers drone inside the vehicle like crazy. But here's the inlet for the second chamber. So it's having to go past this that dumps into this chamber. It has to somehow be pushed back out or change directions and go through here and come into your second chamber where you have your flow plate. Now this is where you get that badass Flowmaster sound. You know, it just sounds like Darth Vader going down the street. And I will admit, I have sacrificed power on a lot of cars with Flowmasters just because I love the sound. But you have the plates, and then it exits this chamber right here. Now this exhaust is 2.5. If you look, looks like the outlet on that chamber is about 2.25. So I'm not really sure. Do they sound great? Yes. The case is thick. They are about like a skid plate if you have them on a 4-wheel drive. Now, will this muffler hurt your conventional 300 to 350 horsepower street machine? Probably not. You probably never see enough restriction from this muffler to see any sort of undesired effect. Now, anything over 500 horsepower or anything with a lot of RPM or compression, you might want to rethink your muffler choices. But as bad as this muffler can be for some applications, some, not all, brings us to the glass pack. Glass packs are not one size fit all. A lot of these have different designs. Purple Horny, for instance. This muffler's cool, very 70s. Typically what you'd expect to see. Love the color on these, by the way. But if you look up inside them, you'll see louvers. Now these mufflers are reversible. So they say if you want them really loud, you install them with the flow of the exhaust flowing over the louver. Now, even backwards, I don't see how this is supposed to flow all that great. If you have them around the quiet direction, good Lord, can you imagine the turbulence this muffler causes? And it does. People have already done tests on it. I don't need to test it. You can go look at the info. This muffler, even though you can see light through it, will literally restrict exhaust flow more than the Flowmaster. But then you get on to the cherry bomb. We're getting better here. Kind of. Okay. So you have your cherry bomb, the signature red cherry bomb, the muffler your dad put on everything. If you're on a budget, this is a good choice. only has one thing I'm not all that crazy about. While it has a perforated core inside it, which is much better for exhaust flow, you notice these sharp edges in here where they put the actual inner structure in it. That will cause turbulence. When exhaust hits that, it's going to cause turbulence. Not to the extent of the traditional louvered core glass pack, but something definitely to take into account. These mufflers are probably fine for anything, you know, up to 500 horsepower. They make them in 3-inch, but I wish they would get rid of that big step in there. That can't be good for flow. Which brings us over to the MagnaFlow style muffler, which they make these in an oval case, just like these, and the tube has a bend in it, but basically they're all the same. I'm just using this for illustrative purposes. Now you'll notice this one does not have any steps in it. Perfectly smooth, perforated core. Now, putting aside your preference of what sound you like, when it comes to horsepower, this is the best choice of muffler as far as construction. And a lot of people say, well, what about, you know, ending the exhaust pulse? That's why you have these things like the exhaust pulse elimination chambers. Well, believe it or not, even though it doesn't have baffles, that perforated core, when the exhaust pulse hits it, it will dissipate inside the case. You can take one of these on a dyno, on a set of collector extensions, and move them with a different length collector extension, and it will make a difference. Just like a collector extension by itself will. Now, I'm an old man, and I don't really like hearing them all that much anymore. I actually prefer how the carburetor sounds. I like a really noisy quadrajet and a gear drive because I'm a degenerate. If you want something that actually flows a little bit better than the Flowmaster, Dynamax did this testing years ago, but doesn't have all the interior drone and resonance, the ideal choice is what we've been using on muscle cars for like ever, the turbo muffler. A little bit of trivia for you. Answer in the comments why it was called the turbo muffler and what vehicle was the first American vehicle that the turbo style muffler came OEM on. But basically inside a turbo muffler, you have, which this one's not cut away, but maybe I'll get one cut away soon, do a video on it. This tube comes through here and has holes all around it. And you have two plates, one more tube that comes up the middle, and one tube that comes down into this outlet. So these mufflers are reversible. The exhaust comes in, dissipates out of the perforated core of that tube, comes back around up this, dissipates in that chamber, and comes back around and out. It is a little restrictive, but you really don't lose much over the Flowmaster. They are much quieter. If you're looking for more of a factory muscle car sound, this would be a good choice. Nice thing about the turbo muffler too, in this day and age, in this market, some of them are actually cheaper than the glass packs. But just thought I would do a little thing on mufflers because I see so many videos on them and I figured why not jump in the pile. Y'all take it easy.